Just one of them days. Just one of them days. Woo! Okay. Okay. This is going to be good. This is going to be good. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm still trying to adjust my light here. Hi. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this evening's edition of CHRYSTALLIS Conversations. We had to restart because Dr. Iyabo was having some network connections. So we're starting again from the beginning. Welcome to everyone. This is CHRYSTALLIS Conversations. My name is Kemi Ogunleye and I'm the creator and host of CHRYSTALLIS Conversations. Today's episode is The Road Less Traveled, Finding Love on Purpose. And as we get into the conversation, you'll know why I picked that topic. My guest today is Dr. Iyabo Webzel. She's here now, so I'm going to add her. I'm not going to delay at all. Let me add her so we can go. Hello, Dr.
Hi,
Iyabo.
I changed my spot, so maybe it will work.
It will work this time in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
So yes, we had earlier. Unfortunately, we had to restart the video, but I'm just going to do a recap because I'm saving this video, and I know that some people who watch it later will not know what we've talked about. So I introduced Dr. Iyabo Webzel. She is a board-certified pediatrician, and she's a fellow of the American Academy of Pediatrics. Sorry. She received her medical degree at the College of Medicine, University of Lagos, and she has been practicing medicine for 28 years. She currently owns and runs her practice in Atlanta, Georgia, where she lives with her husband and 4 children. She's a business and lifestyle coach for women. She's an author. Her book is available on Amazon. It's called Permanent Happiness. She's a blogger. Her website is driyabo.com. Dr. Iyabo is also a motivational speaker. She has spoken on multiple occasions at the United Nations. She's dedicated to promoting happiness, personal fulfillment, and peace. And she has a focus on young women and on the youth. So I asked Dr. Iyabo to tell us a little bit about herself. I'll do that again. Please tell us just a bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Thank you so much, Kemi. Hello, everybody. Sorry about all the technical problems in Atlanta, Georgia. But like Kemi said, I'm a board-certified pediatrician. I'm a physician entrepreneur, which means I own and I run my practice. I'm a lifestyle blogger. I'm a business and lifestyle coach to women. My blog is on my website. It's called The Peace Place. I'm a motivational speaker. I'm also on the medical board of Flow Health, which is the world's largest women's wellness app. And I'm married to my honey Neil, and we have 4 children, 2 daughters and 2 stepsons.
Fantastic. So, like I said, we're going to jump right into the conversation. How did you and your honey Neil, how did you meet?
We met on Match.com. Match.com, the online
dating.
Right.
Online dating. So online dating is a controversial topic. Before we get into online dating, you know, Dr. Iyabo, you got married this year at age 50. When I wrote your caption, the caption for this episode, I said, you know, you were married at 25, divorced at 40, and remarried at 50. So your life is definitely, living proof that sometimes the journey to true love and happiness can be a bit circuitous.
Yes.
So, but then you found true love on Match.com. And I know that a lot of Nigerian women who make up the majority of the audience today are a bit, iffy about the whole online dating thing. It's a bit of a polarizing topic. Many women will be like, no, please, I don't want online dating. Full disclosure, I have tried online dating before. When I lived in the UK, I tried a couple of sites, Bumble.com. I tried another one called Soulmates. Met a few nice guys, went on a few dates. Obviously, nothing ever clicked. But for me personally, I have no problem with online dating. Since I moved back to Nigeria, I have tried it here, but I have to say that the pickings on here are a bit slim. I don't know what the issue is. I think many Nigerian men, just don't. My Nigerian men in particular are probably more averse to online dating than women are. So you don't really find them on dating sites. But I just wanted to ask you first of all, why do you think that Nigerian women are a bit, reluctant to try online dating?
Because I think there's this false notion out there that men who are on online dating are crazy men. A lot of women think, even in the States, there's still many women who think, oh, there's crazy men on online dating. They're all murderers. They've all killed their wives. That's why they're looking for new wives. So there's this false notion with people that everybody who's on online dating is crazy. And that's not true. There is a big, as you know, you've been on online dating. There's many men on there. So just like dating offline, you just have to use your wisdom and your intuition to filter out the bad ones from the good ones. So yeah, I think that's what it is. It's just this false thing out there that all men on there are all crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, and I like what you said about the fact that whether it's online dating or offline dating, you have to exercise good judgment. You have to, trust your intuition. If somebody feels off, then you cut the person off. So there's no, it's whether it's somebody you met in real life, so to speak, or whether it's somebody you met online, the rules are the same. And, I think the other thing is that we live in a world now where, especially for women who are over a certain age, you're busy, you are, you're busy with your work or your career or your business. You may have children, you have a full life. So the chances of you getting out there and meeting someone socially are slim, but online dating presents an option where you can meet people even in spite of your busy schedule. So anyway,
absolutely,
and you are living proof that it works.
Yes, it does work.
And it works. Okay, so when you and your husband first met him, what was your initial impression of him? And what was it that made you think, eventually made you think, this is someone I can settle down with?
Okay. So on our first date, and like I had said before, women, you have to do your due diligence. If you don't know what you're looking for, you won't be able to find it. It's like going to a grocery store without a list. You're going to buy all the junk food. You're not going to focus on what you really want to buy. So it's really good to write a list of the characteristics you're looking for in a man. I did that. I had to do it because I took 2 years off dating in my 10 single years. And when I decided I was going back on there, I had made a list of my deal breakers, the things I absolutely needed, and the things that if I got them would be nice. So when I was on, and hopefully we'll talk about the process later, but when I saw Neil on our first date that day, I knew that I could get married to him because he checked many of the boxes. He was tall. I love tall men like most of us women do. I wanted a man who was at least 6'2" and he was 6'4". He was lean. I love men who are lean, who look nice in a suit. Because I just feel men who have big biceps don't look good in suits. But if there's any men on here who are muscular, sorry, I'm not trying to put you down. Yeah, it's a preference. Yes. And then he was European. I really was, hoping and praying for a European man. I was previously married to a Nigerian man, and I, for some reason, had been attracted to European men for many reasons here and there. And he was English. So on our first date, I'm like, okay, he's checked many of the boxes. Let's see what happens.
Okay. So, those boxes are, and we're going to get into the conversation. Those boxes, people will say, but that's just all, the external, superficial. What about his character as you got to know him better made you think, yes, definitely?
You have to give it time. The thing is, physical attraction is very important, so is character for me, because if you're not physically attracted to someone, also the relationship probably won't last, right? You know, so you have to have both. You have to want to feel like you can kiss this guy. I hope it's all adults on here. You have to feel like, oh, I can kiss him, I can give him a hug right now. But you so I feel they're equally important, physical and the inner peace. Yeah. So with the inner peace, you have to give it time. So we went on our first date. On our first date, I was still like, he talks a lot. He really, and that day, you know, I'm not sure what it was. He had so much to say that day. He was just talking, and I was just sitting there. Oh, really? Oh, you know, with my all dressed up, you know, looking sexy self. I'm like, okay. You know, so, and he kept wanting me to talk, but I was still kind of shy and quiet that day. But by the second date, I started warming up. By the second date, I really did start to like him quite a bit, because we had been texting in between. But by the third date, I really started liking Neil, because guess what he did on the third date, guys? He asked me
what did he do on the third date?
He asked me if he could bring his dad with us on our third date.
He brought his dad on the date, on your third date. So in short, this must have meant that, in fact, at that point, he must have already thought this woman is a winner. This is somebody that's,
yes.
And
on our second date, he had said something which kind of sounded like a joke, because, you know, English people are quite sarcastic. I wasn't sure if he was being sarcastic or joking or serious, but he had said that he felt he could get married to me. You know, halfway through the date, he just said, yeah, boy, I can see myself married to you. So I just thought, these men and their sweet mouths and whatever, I just kind of overlooked it. But then when he sent me a text planning the third date, and he said his dad was visiting from England, or I think it was around Thanksgiving, and that could he come, I thought to myself, I'm like, that's a good sign. His dad is 86. He wants to bring him on a date. He said he likes Indian food. Can he come? I said, sure. So I thought to myself, I'm like, which guy takes a woman on a date with his father if he doesn't really like the woman? So that for me was like, oh, he's handsome, he's tall, he looks good, and I'm meeting his father. Okay, let's keep going. Yeah.
And obviously you found that, you know, there was some, in terms of interests and values, you know, there was a lot of commonality there, I'm sure. But you know,
many.
You mentioned that you had, you know, you had two daughters from your previous marriage. He had two sons. So as you got to know each other better, you're blending your family. What was the process like of blending the two families?
Well, so we started, I think he met my kids first. Okay. So we started.
And your daughters are how old? Oh.
My daughters are 16 and 22. So they're older, and they, you know, I just thought to myself, they knew, you know, that I'd been divorced. I was looking for somebody to remarry and all of that. So after some dates, I don't remember, it was somewhere between our third and our 10th date that I, you know, brought him home to meet my daughters. And it was fine, because they kind of knew what I was looking for, that I was looking for a European guy. I had told them he's handsome, he's tall, he's this. So they were excited and wanting to meet him. So that went uneventfully. That was nice. And then I met his sons a little bit after that. So he met my daughters before I met his sons. And that was fine too. Yeah, his sons are younger. His sons are 6 and 9. And his sons spend some of the time with their mom and some of the time with us. Well, with him at the time. So, yes, but it went well. And then after that, we put all the kids together. We met, you know, I think it was here in my house at the time, which is our house now. But we brought them all together here to meet. And it was fine, because my daughters, they're older. They just thought these two little boys were super cute and super this and so it went well, yes.
So how long did you date for before you got married?
So let's see. So we met January. Actually, no, it wasn't Thanksgiving. It was January time we met, around the holidays, New Year. We met January of 2018. And he proposed, we got engaged October 2019. Okay.
So you dated for about going on almost 2 years.
Yes. Yeah, almost 2 years. And then we got married April of 2020.
April 2020. Okay.
Yes.
So, I mean, and I know that you said, oh, you know, you wanted a European guy. You had your reasons for wanting a European man, but he's still a different culture from you. You know, you have different cultures, different nationalities, different races, for that matter. What was the process like, or were there any sort of cultural barriers that got in the way as you got to know each other better?
A few, not many. A few. I do want it that I had dated a lot of guys that were Americans from I live in the South of America, and most of you know the history of the South, all the segregation and all of that. So of the South, and I just could kind of feel it, tell that they were not planning to be serious with me because of everything we all know, all the interracial. In fact, there was this guy who sent me a message on LinkedIn for a while on Match, and he sent me a message on LinkedIn. I guess he just wanted to see more about me and what I did. And he said, oh, you're such a great woman, too bad you're black. So
no way.
Yeah, so I kind of
actually
knew at points that I shouldn't waste my time with these white Southern men. Oh yeah, he sent it on his deed, ignored it, because I thought, how do you even answer somebody who is, you know, who sends you a message like this? He said
that's so overtly racist. I mean,
he's like, oh, you know, you're such a great woman, too bad you're black. And that thing still exists in the South. Yes. Oh yeah, basically. So I just thought, that was why I took the 2-year off, because we just, you know, have the companionship and all that. I could tell you wasn't going to lead anywhere serious. So I started just praying for a European guy. Like I said before, I'd been married to a Nigerian for a long time, and I just wasn't really attracted to Nigerian men anymore. We all know what we're attracted to. I just had been there and I had done that, and I didn't want to be with a Nigerian man anymore. But not quite what I was looking for. So anyway, yeah, there were a few cultural differences, but honestly, Kemi, Neil and I have you have more in common with them. Neil and I we love cleaning up. We don't like clutter. We're like racing each other to do the dishes, because Neil doesn't like any dishes. We're all just, the first day I walked into his house, I'm like, oh yes, I can marry this guy. His house was spick and span, and I could tell that he just didn't clean it because I was coming. He's very neat. He's very clean. He just likes, you know, order. He's very driven as well, which sometimes could clash with couples, but because we're in different careers, I just feel it's, you know, he's very focused and very organized, very funny. First of all, I thought his sarcasm was a little bit, you know, but then I'm like, I do know English people. I know his English sense of humor. But we have so much in common, a lot in common. We're both homebodies. We both like being at home. He's not an overly social person who wants to go to this bar, that bar. He just wants to be home, and he works from home and I work from home. So we had a lot in common, and I honestly can't think of a lot of things that we don't have in common, aside from the sense of humor, which I'm like, and as you know, a lot of us Nigerians are used to the English, because England is like second home for us.
Okay, so you're breaking up a bit, as you're breaking up a bit again, and it's freezing in and out, but I'm trying to just let the conversation keep going. Yeah. So if you have questions, asking questions, please, if you have questions for my guests, please put the questions in the question box, because if you put them in the comment section, it scrolls up and I won't be able to find it when it's Q&A time. So, you know, we started this conversation from today, you know, you got married, you know, now I want to circle back a little bit because I know you were married before.
Yeah.
You were married to your previous husband for 15 years, and then the marriage ended. There's a question box for you. If it's not showing up for you, I can see it here on my end. And then your marriage ended around the time you turned 40. What would you say are were the key learnings from you? I mean, when a marriage ends, there's so many reasons why
Yeah.
the marriage doesn't work. But what would you say for you I'm sure you took stock afterwards. What would you say were the key learnings for you or the key takeaways for you?
Okay, so the first one is what I just said, that because somebody's from your culture and has the same skin color as you, doesn't mean you'll be compatible with them. We have that false notion out there. And I guess from my parents and everyone else, if you marry a Yoruba man, it's likely that you'll be okay because you'll understand each other. That's not always true, because that wasn't true for me. And we did have good times in the marriage, of course. I mean, we were married for 15 years. Another key thing for me is when you're dating and people are telling you there's a red flag that they see, you should listen, especially if these are trusted people, because what eventually broke us up was something that many people had pointed out to me. You know, when we were dating, and because we met when I was really young, I was naive. We met in medical school. I was only 17. He was 21. We actually dated for 8 years before we got married. So, but then there was a red flag that people had been telling me about, you know, not really about him, but about somebody close to him. And I didn't listen because I was thinking, well, I'm not marrying this person. I'm marrying him. What's the big deal? You know, this person isn't going to live with us. But that showed up quite fast after we got married. It showed up as soon as we had our first child. And that was, we got married in 95, and this thing started showing up in 97, and I didn't listen. So that's key. Listen to people if they're telling you, be careful, oh, you know, just especially if it's trusted people. Yeah, and there's one more thing I would say I learned from that. I feel, and again, God's timing is best, but I feel like I haven't stayed a little too long in that marriage. I should have left because, yeah, I feel like the signs were there, but I was just hoping and praying and enduring and everything like we women like to endure. You know, if you've tried therapy, you've prayed and prayed and prayed, you've tried counseling and nothing is changing, please just leave. Leave. There's life in front of you. Just leave. God doesn't hate the divorcee. God loves all of us. So those are the three key things.
Okay. So I want to stop on just for emphasis on a couple of things you said. One is the fact that, you know, I guess looking back in retrospect, to pay attention to the red flags that you see when you're dating. If people, and you said trusted people, are telling you certain things about this person that you are dating, pay attention to those things.
Yes.
And then, you know, because those things may end up becoming, you know, real issues in the marriage. But you also said that, you know, maybe you should have left earlier. You were married for 15 years. Maybe you should have left earlier. At what point does a woman know that this is not going to get better? And because I mean ending a marriage it's not an easy decision. It's not a decision that anybody wants to make. I don't think anybody gets married thinking that
no.
Yes. So, but you know, there's always that thing of we have to make it work. This is marriage. This is for life, especially when we have kids and all of that. But at what point should a woman or someone in the marriage be thinking, maybe, you know, this really is not meant to be?
At the point where you believe you've tried everything, you know the time that you've tried everything and it's still not working, and you're chronically sad, you're going into depression, it's starting to really chronically affect your mental health, that's the time to leave. Yeah, that for me, that's it. I know that when that time was, looking back now, I know when that time was, but I stayed a little longer. Again, God's timing is fine. But at the time, you know that you've tried everything. You've prayed and prayed and prayed. You have gone to counseling, or your husband refuses to go to counseling. Some men don't want to go to counseling, or you don't want to go to counseling. Some people just don't want to go to counseling, and you're sleeping in separate bedrooms. You're calling each other names. There's no more physical intimacy, or even if there is, your mind is somewhere else. You're calling each other names. You're fighting. The kids are seeing you fighting all the time. It's time to leave.
Time to leave.
Yeah.
That's when you are living in a toxic
environment.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
So yeah. It's incidental, or I mean, to me, I mean, your marriage or your divorce came when you were 40, and there's something people say life begins at 40. A lot of women say, you know, when they turn 40. I know when I turned 40, it was as though I got a new lease of life. I started to take my happiness, prioritize my happiness, one,
right,
and then take control of my own life instead of waiting for life to happen for me. I started to think, oh my goodness gracious, if I don't do certain things, if I'm not intentional about certain things, life is just going to keep passing me by. Do you think that turning 40 for you had anything to do with the fact that you were now able to say, okay, this is done?
No, it actually didn't. It was just coincidence. I actually didn't even remember what my age was. I was so wrapped up in all the sadness and the chaos and everything that I honestly didn't remember. I got divorced before my 40th. So the divorce was finalized in October of the previous year. And I turned 40 April of the year after. So it was actually quite far. It was like 5 or 6 months before my 40th. But my age was the last thing that was on my mind. It was later that I realized, oh, I'm about to turn 40. You know,
there's probably something there, though. As you get older, though, you are less willing. Somebody said you are less willing to take nonsense.
Yes.
As you get older, as you get to a certain age. So, you know, when you now, okay, this is done. That chapter of your life is done. At what point did you start thinking, okay, maybe I know some people come out of this sort of experience and they're like, please, I beg, nobody should talk to me about marriage, love, any man. I don't even want to hear. I just want to be by myself, I beg. But at what point, I don't know if you had that experience, but at what point did you start thinking, maybe I can meet somebody and settle down again?
Okay, so for me, I was actually on Match.com, I think a month or two after my divorce was finalized.
So, I mean, I'm sure for you, the marriage ending was a slow process and then divorce. So by that time, I
had checked out. Yeah, mentally, I had already checked out. I had checked out a year or so before. I was just trying to get myself ready. So I was ready to start dating. I just needed a distraction. I needed to just feel good and feel happy and laugh again. So I was on Match.com, I think by January or so, and I started dating. The first guy I actually met on Match.com was American, and we dated for 4 years. We actually
dated the first guy you met. Wow.
Yeah, the first guy I met, we were actually in a relationship for 4 years, and it was wonderful. We traveled the world together. He had a good sense of humor. He made me laugh. I felt sexy. I felt good again, but I knew I couldn't get married to him. There were some issues, and to give him the respect, I'm not going to say that because, you know, we're still kind of distant friends. But there were some issues in the relationship, not with him, but I knew I didn't want to get married to him. So I broke it up because everybody was asking. He had met my parents. He had been to Lagos with me. Wow. He had actually traveled to Lagos with me. He had met my parents' family. Everybody was like, when are you getting married to John? When are you getting married to John? So I thought, okay, it's time to break it off. And it was tough because I missed him after we broke up. But I just knew that I couldn't do it because there was a big red flag that I didn't want to get into. So yeah, so I forgot what you were saying. So after him, I dated back and forth. Nobody really stuck. So I decided to take 2 years off dating before I now went back on Match.com, and then I met Neil after that. Did I answer your question? I feel like I didn't answer the exact question.
No, you did. I said that the question really was about how quickly did you start to date again?
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
you did answer the question. But one thing that came out in your answer that I like is that it seemed like you had learned your lessons from the first time around in not
Oh,
ignoring the red flag.
many
in not
lessons.
ignoring in not ignoring the red flag, because some of us, we keep making the same mistakes over and over again.
No.
But
Yeah.
it's good to hear that you had,
Yeah.
and maybe also that that relationship was what you needed at that time. It didn't have to it didn't have to end in marriage, but it was what you needed at the time. And
exactly. My mom, God bless her soul, my mom's in heaven now. She actually said it. She was like, this guy was your angel from God. God just sent him to you to help you heal, to laugh, because he was funny. I'm like, are you a comedian? He would make us laugh and laugh, and I needed that because I hadn't laughed for years. I honestly realized, yeah, but you actually haven't laughed for a long time. So yeah.
So that's great. And then you said you dated him for 4 years, and then after a while you took a couple of years off dating altogether. But it was in this period, I don't know at what period you now, because you're a doctor, you're a medical doctor, but at some point you wrote a book, not a book on anything to do with medicine, but you wrote a book, you started blogging, you started life coaching. How and what was it that led you to pivot in that direction?
So my dad passed around the time I decided I wanted to take time off dating completely. It was kind of coincidence. After I broke up with the first guy, after 4 years, I just didn't meet anybody that I really, liked or stuck. So I just thought, and then my pastor gave this sermon about if you've been trying to date and you can't find anybody, take time off and reconnect with yourself and stuff. So I decided to take 2 years off, and then I made that decision, and then my dad passed all of a sudden. He was 86, but I was still my dad's baby, and I missed my dad terribly. So I think the healing process with my dad just turned me into a writer somehow. I don't know how to answer that question. It's always hard for me to answer. I feel like it was just some spiritual influence from above that said, okay, Iyabo, I'm downloading all this into your head. Turn it into a book. Because I literally, while I was grieving my dad, I wrote 2 books back to back in a period of 6 months. Wow. I wrote the first book in 2 months, 60,000 words. I wrote another 60,000 word book behind it. I haven't published the second one. So I think at that point, there was just some kind of spiritual awakening that came into me. And then I really loved writing. And then I started blogging. I just could not stop writing. And since then, I haven't stopped, since 2015. So I think I had the gift within me, but because there was so much chaos in my life, I couldn't actually manifest
that gift.
Yeah, I couldn't. And that happens to a lot of women. Now that I'm coaching, a lot of women keep their gifts dormant within them because their lives are too chaotic. And I've been there. Yeah.
I am really happy you brought that up, actually, because I think I also have been there. It's when you are in a space of peace, when there's peace, when that's when you can be creative. That's when those gifts, like you said, can come to the fore. But when there's so much going, I remember when, a few years ago, there was so much turmoil in my life personally. And a lot of people were saying to me that time, Kemi, you should I was looking for work, I couldn't find work and all of that. People would say, but you can write, you can do these things, start a business, start blogging, start doing this. And it was very difficult for me to tell people that my mind, I can't even quiet my mind enough to do anything. Or I would sit in front of my laptop and say, I want to write, and my brain is just turning, trying to think about the bills and all of this, that, and the other. And I couldn't focus, I couldn't be creative, I couldn't create anything. So I think there is that, and it brings me to the life coaching where, when you've maybe gone through the healing process, you're then whole enough to begin to be able to create. What was it that made you decide you wanted to start coaching women?
Yes. So the journey between when I wrote my book and published it and became active on social media in 2017. Because I launched my book. That's when somebody saw me and introduced me to somebody at the UN. Things just started happening for me. My practice went from being quite good to being so productive. It's like my life just taking that chaos. And all due respect to my ex, I never want to see anything to bring him down. You know, taking that out of my life, taking my ex and the bad marriage out of my life, you know, I feel like it just opened doors. I was able to think, I was able to manage my practice even better. My creativity was like at 1,000%. I was getting opportunities. I was active on social media, and my DM would just be full all the time. Women just telling me, oh, something you said today touched my life, or you healed me from this, or you helped me. It was just the day that somebody sent me a DM on LinkedIn, this lady in America, and said that she read what I posted on LinkedIn, then went to my blog to read some of my posts, and she decided she wasn't going to take her life. She said she'd been so depressed and she was thinking of committing suicide, but I've given her so much hope. That was the day I said, okay, Iyabo, this is your mission. This is your life purpose. You have to keep doing this. People need you out there. And it took a while. I was mentoring for free for a long time. I really didn't want to monetize it. But this, with the pandemic and everything going on, and my practice, the numbers kind of falling and not being as good as before, even though I've been able to maintain it a lot, because many practices have shut down. And then I thought to myself, it's time to start monetizing this. So in October, or was it September, I thought, okay, I'm going to start coaching and I'm going to start monetizing it. And so that was my journey. It wasn't something I just woke up and decided.
I think I'm going to bring you back to have another conversation about monetizing our gifts, especially as women.
Oh, I'd love to do that.
Because I think many of us women have that's a real struggle for us. We do so much for everyone, so much for free. You know, we just want to, we don't even think about the fact that you need to be, this thing is something that's supposed to, you can make a living from it. So but I want us to focus today. I don't want to get distracted because that's a whole conversation on its own.
It is.
But you now spend a lot of time obviously talking to women, and I know that you blog a lot about, you know, love, relationships, dating, and you're probably talking to a lot of women who are seeking to find true love, who are looking for a life partner. What would you say from all your conversations and discussions with women are some of the top mistakes that we women make in dating?
You really want to hear, Kemi? I don't know why I'm laughing. You really want to hear. So this
I want to hear because it's right up the alley for me. I need to hear this.
Okay. So this one is for both married and single women. Okay. We put ourselves in la la, and I'm going to say because I have been there, done that. We put ourselves in la la land. We want the man who shows us clearly that he doesn't want us.
Stop. Say it again. Rewind.
We put ourselves in la la land, fantasy land, married and single, because both people do this. We want to be with a man who is showing, and I'm not saying has, though, because he's doing, it's an active, you know, who is showing us clearly that he doesn't want to be with us. That's the number one biggest mistake we make. That's why women will stay in marriage and endure and give you every excuse on the face of the earth. It's because of this. Maybe it's what I did. Oh, it's because I'm clearly the guy has 8 to 10 other girlfriends, obviously is not satisfied or happy with you. I mean, if he was, he won't be doing that, right? He's calling you names every day, never wants to be around you, you know, all of that, but you're still saying, it's because of the Bible said, I'm a Christian, and the Bible didn't say endure until you die. And then it's the same thing for single women. You'll find I coach women now who just come to me just for relationships, not even business. And they're professionals, you know, lawyers, doctors, you know, professionals, and they chase men. The man is clearly showing them he doesn't want them. The guy hasn't sent them a message for 2 weeks. They haven't heard from him, silence. And they're telling themselves in their head, oh, maybe he lost my number. Oh, he's probably busy with work. Maybe his kids are just distracting him, and they're texting him and asking him, you know, do you want to go out? How are you doing? No.
Don't do that. No. I think there's that thing where we think we can change the person. No. We can change the man by our behavior if we contort ourselves this way, if we, you know, So
It's
I mean,
not going
somebody
to
said,
happen.
Faye said you went straight for the jugular. I mean, I feel like the whole room just went quiet now. I can feel the
No,
I can feel the
because
energy, but
it
it's true.
is.
It's
Yeah, it's
true.
true because I've been there. I did that too. In between when I broke up with the guy for 4 years and before I met Neil, there were a couple guys that I just liked. And in my head, I'm like, I want to be with this guy. And it was obvious. I wouldn't hear from them for a while and I would, text them or whatever. And then after a while, with all the relationship books I was reading and my own self, I'm like, obviously, if he wanted to be with me, he'll be texting me. So that's the common mistake, married and single. That's what we tell ourselves. In fact,
Yeah.
every other.
And the thing is, for a woman, especially when you're a certain age, there's a lot
Yeah.
of pressure. You just want to make it work. You just want to make it work. And, sometimes the harder you try, in fact, the more the thing does not even work at all. The guy is even running for bills. It's taking it, because, and anyway, let me not. Well, I think
Yeah, see people saying that family says they should endure. I think that's
yes,
just an excuse.
they'll stay for the kids. They're not the only ones. This,
Yeah.
that, and the other.
Yeah,
She
and
just
I
called
feel
me by
that when you
name.
say family is telling you, when family is telling you to endure, it's not the family. You are the one who's actually looking for the excuse because you're an adult. If you really want to leave, you won't even listen to what your family is saying. That is just so you can have an excuse. You can say, my mom said I should wait. My auntie said it's because you yourself are looking for an excuse and a reason to actually stay.
In fact, this is what do they call this? Now we are really we're hitting home here. And here's the issue. I'll say, I think I can speak for a lot of us women. And the title of this conversation is finding love on purpose, right? So being intentional about finding love. And you speak a lot about being intentional. And there's that thing where it's like, okay, yes, this is what I want. They tell you, like you said it too, write your goals down, write what you want, do this, do that.
Yeah.
How do you then strike the balance? So I'm in that mode where, I want to find a life partner. I've made it my priority. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But how do I then strike the balance between this is what I desire, I'm desiring a life partner, and not letting that desire consume my life?
Oh, get busy with your life.
I'm busy with my life. I can't do the dating thing now.
Okay.
You're telling me to do, how can I do
it? Okay, I understand. So the first thing we need to do as women is write in our journal and say to ourselves every day that nobody else can make me happy except myself and God. The day that you realize that is the day you'll know that you just need to look for a partner who will just be an addition to your happiness. An addition to your happiness. You already have to be happy before you go and look for a partner. And I want to say this truth now for anybody out there. If you're feeling sad or depressed, or you're feeling like you're not happy right now, stop dating. Stop dating. If you're feeling sad because you're single, if you're feeling sad because you don't have a man, stop dating. It's not the time to date. Because guess what? You're going to end up with somebody who you don't need to be with. You're going to end up with somebody who you want to rescue you from your sadness. And there's no man on the face of this earth that can rescue you. So until your happiness and your life is full, don't start dating. You have to get your creative gifts in order and start doing what God commissioned you to do on this earth before you start looking for a partner.
Wow. So, I mean, again, it's like that's another boom moment right there. Is if you are feeling sad, if you're feeling like, if you're desperate about this thing, then park it on one side and, focus on your own happiness. And really, you said something that, I almost feel like somebody should write that down as well. That, nobody can make you happy except yourself and God. So if you're not happy with yourself, if you're not happy with God, you can't, there's nobody coming from anywhere to come and make you happy. Now, let's now break it down, especially again, for those of us who are, Nigerian, of a certain age, you are in your 40s, maybe you are not married, mommy is stressing you, daddy is stressing you, everybody, pressure from everywhere. People are telling you that you are too picky, you are set in your ways, you are inflexible, that's why you can't find anybody. Why is it that you settle, you have to settle down, you have to settle. There's no perfect man out there. So when you see somebody, just settle. Women, on the other hand, a lot of women are saying, I'm not picky, but I don't want to. I don't want to settle for less, Where, again, this is a balance. What are your thoughts around this? That balance between, this is my standard, and if anybody doesn't meet all this standard, I don't want him. And being a bit flexible as well, and knowing that nobody is perfect.
Okay, so that's a two-pronged question. The first prong that I do want to say is, we love our parents, we love our siblings, we love our friends. Let's be careful of the advice they give us and the pressure, because a lot of Nigerian parents just want to do it for their own edification, for their own face in front of their friends, because they don't want to be the mother of the 45-year-old who's not yet married. So let's be careful about that. Your happiness is your own happiness. You're going to have your own home. Your mom is not coming to your home to make you happy. So you'll have to tell them respectfully, Mom, please, I understand what you're saying, but please just let me do this by myself. I love you very much, Mom, but please let me do it by myself. However, be careful. They may be telling you something that is true. So you have to be humble at the same time. If everybody's telling you you're too picky, then you need to get into your quiet time and really ask yourself that, are you being picky? So if you have 10 things that you've written down and you want all 10 things, yes, you're being picky. Because, you're out of those 10, you have to say, okay, God, if you give me 7 out of the 10, it's okay. The other 3, I know I'm not perfect either. I'll be okay. So, and that's why writing down what you'd like in a partner is important, not to the part where you get obsessive about it. So, there's a fine balance between obsession and, write down things. And it's okay to write down physical characteristics. Some people are like, isn't that vain? No, God heard my prayers. I wanted a tall, so it's okay to write down, and you can write down the reason why you want that. You want a guy who's tall because you want to feel protected and loved or whatever by him. Write down as much information as you can. But if you're writing down 10 things and you want all 10 and you don't want to be flexible, then maybe your relatives are right.
Or your friends or relatives are right.
Or your friends
I like how you've sort of broken it down in that, if everybody's telling you the same thing, maybe you need to pay attention. But ultimately, it's your life. You have to make your own decision for yourself. And then the other thing is, write a list. If you must, write a list, but have your must-have and have your deal breakers and have your nice-to-have. And,
and Kemi, if I may comment on this, I don't know if the lady here, Scandal, is joking or not, but ladies, don't add rich to it. Don't add millionaire to it.
So Scandal is not a woman, it's a man.
No wonder.
I think he's just being funny.
I know. So, and we haven't talked about money. Maybe we'll get to it. But that's another mistake a lot of women make. They're looking for this bank. They're looking, basically, women are looking for a bank.
But you see, again, we're looking at women who are in a certain age. You've got to a certain age. You are independent. You have your own life. You have your business. You're probably doing well for yourself. And maybe you're just saying, I don't want anybody that's going to come and be. If I'm going to be with him, I don't want. So I guess, again, it's a balance thing. It's not, money is important because you've achieved a certain level in your life by yourself as well. And so why should you now have somebody that's going to be a liability,
If that's the intention, yes, what you just explained, absolutely, that's the intention. Of course, on my list I had, he has to be established, he has to have a career. My first thing on my list was intelligence. It was a very intellectual person, because that was actually my first deal breaker before the 6'2" and all that, because I just can't. I have a thing about good grammar. I have a thing about spelling. I get very irritated with bad grammar and bad spelling. And I don't mean, let me say it in Yoruba. So, so I don't know where I got that thing from. I tried to like dial back on it, but I really knew that I had to be with an intellectual person, so that was my number one. So, you can say you want somebody who's established in his career, but not that. I said that some women are looking for banks, because literally they are. Some women just want a man who's going to provide. If you want a man to finance your life, then you're not going to see him. So you have to choose one or the other. If he's financing your life, he'll finance your life and just sit you down where you are. And he'll be outside working 90% of the time and have some other people on the side. So if you want a man who's going to be an equal partner, just look for somebody who has a career and who's established. He doesn't have to have 1 million in the bank, or,
1 million what?
A house. Buy yourself a house.
$1 million, £1 million, or 1 million naira. There's a world of difference.
Pounds or dollars. If you want to buy a house, buy the house yourself. If you want a nice car, buy it yourself. If you want to go on a good, nice vacation, go on your own. When I was single, I traveled the world on my own with my daughters. So you don't have to put your life on hold to find, so it's obviously it's a guy that was saying the rich and millionaire. So he was just pulling our legs.
Yeah, he was pulling our legs. He was pulling our legs. But yeah, I think there may be some women in the house who are saying, if he's going to finance my life, if he's not home, that's his problem, as long as I'm living in a mansion.
Well, but for me, that's not what I'm looking for. That's not my mindset.
Be careful what you ask for. But okay, so back to the conversation. Naira is not current in money discussion. The comments are really distracting me. But again, coming back home to Nigeria, we live here. For those, especially those of us who live here, but even my Nigerian sisters in the diaspora, you face, like I said, you face a lot of pressure on all fronts. Meanwhile, a Nigerian man doesn't face that pressure. If you're a man and you are in your 50s and you're newly single for whatever reason, either you're just divorced or you're widowed, there's a line around the block already outside your door. That man can choose literally anybody from a woman in her 20s, 30s to a woman who's even older than him, who's in her 60s. He has the pick of the litter. Women are expected to jump through hoops to impress him. I know somebody who lost his wife a couple of months ago. They hadn't even buried the wife. People were already telling him that, already kind of saying that, well, there's somebody, just don't, that you marry again, or, these kinds of things will never be said to a woman who's just lost her husband. You are expected to just be there and mourn him for the rest of your life. So, it's a patriarchal society. It's not balanced. As a woman, you're made to feel that if you are on your own, then something is really wrong with you. As a man, you're made to feel like you are the prize. So how does a woman maintain her self-esteem and dignity in this sort of environment?
You have to work at it. You have to work at it, and you also have to be careful about the kind of women you associate yourself with. I think that's key. I think a lot of women who associate themselves with women who base their self-confidence and self-esteem on material things, that's what it's going to be. So you have to be careful. You also have to know, again, that your happiness depends on you and God, and you make your own money and you make yourself happy. We put too much emphasis on marriage as women. There's too much focus on marriage for happiness. And if that was the case, if marriage made so many women happy, then there would be many happily married women. There's not many, and I'm not saying this, it's just, there are not many. Women just endure, and that's not good. So I just feel that you should make your life wholesome and rich, work on your creative gifts, work on your talents. It's not just about your career. We need to change our mindset from marriage, 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 and my career, career, career. Yes, I know that the norm is, yes, it's important to go to college, get your bachelor's, but you don't have to get every PhD and MBA and all the, qualifications in the world. We forget our creativity, because our creativity is directly related to our life purpose. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that until you really start using the gifts that God gave you when you were born to start changing the world, you don't really find your life purpose. Because I honestly, today, sitting here, I don't feel being a doctor was my life purpose. I feel like healing, which is more vague, is my life purpose.
Right.
And I found that through my writing and my blogging. So women really need to start thinking of what their creativity is, and really jumping and dialing into that. That's what's going to make you wholesome, and not focus so much on the guy. And then while you're doing all that, the guy is going to show up. It always happens. Once you're living in your purpose and you're blossoming and shining and you're in your real excellent self, the guy always shows up. But we put ourselves in depression, in dejection, in sadness. I don't have a man and nothing is working for me and nothing. The man isn't going to come. And even if he shows up in that instance, it's not going to be good.
Right. So I'm going to just actually pick up on the last things you said. You were talking about, when depression and being, having the wrong mindset, being sad. A lot of women, a lot of us are carrying a lot of trauma. Some trauma, maybe from a previous marriage, a previous relationship, some previous life experience, some sort of unresolved trauma that many of us may not even know that we have, but it's getting in the way. We just know that somehow, I'm not finding the right person, or I'm sabotaging myself, or I feel like, there's things are just not working out. I'm just not finding much success. What are some of the markers of trauma, deep-seated trauma, and how then can a woman who has that experience find healing or begin the healing process?
So if you're a sad person, if you're somebody who looks at the world in a very negative manner, you probably have some unresolved trauma. I believe that's a sure sign. Women who think the negative of everything, before you say one thing, they find some excuse. Oh, it's because of Kinika. Don't mind her. She's just, women who don't, for me, I always, no matter what you tell me, I'll find some positive thing out of it. But I know when I was in that negative space where I just thought everything was bad. So if you're always looking at the world as negative, you're a pessimist, everything is bad, everybody has an issue, then you probably have some unresolved trauma. If you get angry at everything everybody tells you, you're sensitized, you're sensitive, you probably have some unresolved trauma. So, and therapy is fine. I've actually never been in therapy at all, but I think books have been my therapy. I actually think I just put my head in books and books and books, and that really for me was healing. I read all kinds of books. I was just reading all through when I was healing from my divorce. And I used to walk outside in nature a lot. But if that doesn't work for you, then find a therapist. But if you're somebody who looks at everything negative and you're always criticizing, always sensitized, then you have some kind of unresolved trauma. Or if you're going from one bad relationship to the next. If you leave this guy, you go to the next, and you keep complaining about all the men. It can't be all the men that are bad. You have to check and introspect. So if you just keep on going from one relationship to the next, one problem to the other, then you have some trauma. You need to stop dating. Like my pastor said, I listened when he said it. He was talking in church that day, in a church full of thousands of people, and I thought he was talking to me, and he was like, if you've been dating back to back to back and you can't find anyone, just take time off. Take at least 2 years off dating. And I listened to him. I took exactly 2 years off. And as soon as I got off, 2 months after that, I met Neil, and we're married now. So that's how you know if you have unresolved trauma.
Again, just to maybe synthesize what you've said, because you said quite a lot, is number one, looking at yourself, if you're negative, or if you're easily triggered,
Yes.
if you're angry a lot, if you're sad a lot, but also if you find yourself in a pattern of bad relationships, one relationship to the next, one relationship to the next, one relationship to the next, then maybe you need to dig deeper and find help, professional help, if you need it. And I really want to emphasize that, we don't be averse to finding professional help. In the same way as you go to a medical doctor if you have some sort of physical symptom, same way you should seek the help of a therapist if you need to resolve, if you're serious about resolving these things. But if again, now as we're rounding up, because I see so many questions, so I'm rounding up my questions for you, and then I'm going to start taking questions for the question box. But some women will tell you that I don't have any of these issues, but I just can't meet anybody. I don't meet anyone. I go out, nobody ever looks at me, nobody ever asks me out, nobody ever is ever seems interested in me. I've signed up for dating, online dating. I never get any. It just, nobody clicks on my profile. What if I am serious about attracting my ideal partner? What are the top 3 things that you would say I must begin to do right now? Because I personally believe that every woman, as long as you desire it, there's somebody out there for you. So what are the top 3 things, just to keep it simple, what are the top 3 things you must begin to do right now?
Yes, and I was going to say what you just said, that for everybody, there's a partner out there. However, if you're not finding someone, the first thing you have to think of is, am I overly picky? Okay, some women, I have a few friends in Atlanta who they're looking for this man who is just perfection. They want a tall man. They want him to be well educated. Meanwhile, they're not Nigerians. They're from other cultures. Meanwhile, they themselves didn't finish. They didn't go to college. They just have like maybe 1 or 2 years of college. I'm not saying you shouldn't aspire high, but you have to be realistic. I'm not, you get what I'm saying here. If you're a small, tiny grape and you're looking to date somebody that is a watermelon, I think you're in fantasy land.
I like that.
You get what I'm saying. I don't want to say it in a way to put people down based on who they are, but you just have to be realistic. Maybe you have some self-improvement to do if you want to start looking for somebody in that cadre, right? So people are saying they're not meeting anyone, but what they're looking for is unrealistic to the person they are.
Or it doesn't match up.
It doesn't match up.
But some people are really not meeting anyone. Dr. Iyabo, I go out, nobody has
because they are not on online dating. Are they on online dating? Have they tried online dating? Those people that are saying they're not meeting anyone. If you're 40, 50, you're not going to meet anybody out there. You're not. You better go on online dating.
That's what
there are many sites. There are many sites. If Match.com, some people have met their honey on eHarmony. Some Match.com. There's many sites out there. There's no more. You will not meet a murderer. Don't worry. Just don't meet them in secret. Don't go into their home. There's some rules about online dating. You can read those up yourself. But try online dating if you haven't met anybody. I just believe there's somebody for someone out there. So the first thing, the 3 things, let me say it quickly. Make sure that you're living your best life. That's number 1. You have to be living your best life. Number 2, make sure you're taking care of your physical and your spiritual lifelines. You have to be taking care of your body. Don't keep your weave on for 6 months and have it smelling and having it all tangled up. Take care of your body. I'm not saying you have to be a size 0 or size 2. Just take care of your body. Smell nice, look nice. And number 3, work on your self-esteem and your self-confidence. That is key. That is key. Because if you lack self-esteem, you're going to find a guy who's going to mistreat you. You have to work on your self-esteem and your self-confidence. You have to know who you are. Those, for me, those are the three. Those are the three
I
key
hope you
things.
guys, I mean, I'm sure you've taken notes. Those are three things that, and I think that all what in a nutshell is prioritize your happiness, your well-being, and your health. Once you're doing that and you are functioning in that place of wellness and wholeness, you will ultimately attract the person that is for you. Online dating in Nigeria is a different kettle of fish. Like I said, you know, is because I don't think we've evolved that far. But
so can I suggest something, Kemi? I hate to cut you off.
No, please.
So, okay, how many people are on this live? Quite a lot. So since online dating is not good in Nigeria, you know what that means? There's a void. Somebody needs to set up online dating out of the people listening to this. That means there's a money-making business somewhere. Kemi, you do it. No, honestly. No, but
I think what will work in Nigeria actually is a matchmaking service.
Okay.
Yes, and I think somebody needs to start that. I watched this series on Netflix. It's called Indian Matchmaking, and I just wondered how come we don't have this sort of service. You see, part of it is this. You know, Nigerians were so what's the word I'm looking for? We're so conscious. We're so you know, somebody will see me on this online dating, Kiniko, all of that. So, but if there's a discrete service, a discrete matchmaking service that is strategic, that is purposeful, that will listen to you and say, okay, this is what I want, and the person has a Rolodex or has some sort of folder and match you with a few people and go and try it out. I think that will work. I think somebody should try that.
The only thing is that tends to be expensive, so that's only going to be certain class.
But I think women will pay for it. I think if they can be guaranteed that this matchmaker knows what he or she is doing and is able to find or match you with men who are in the same sort of on the same level as you are, then I think people will pay for it. That's what I think. So business idea there. My last question for you before I open up the questions box is, what advice would you give to your 25-year-old self? I know there's some women on here who are in their 20s. What advice would you give to your 25-year-old self? What advice would you give to your 35-year-old self? And what advice would you give to your 45-year-old self?
Okay, so my 25-year-old self would have been, listen to those trusted people who are telling you, who are giving you advice. They know what they're seeing. Just listen to them and give them a chance. That's my 25-year-old self. My 35-year-old self would have been, you can't be everything to everybody. Iyabo, you can't be the cook, you cannot be the cleaner, and you cannot be the wife, and you cannot be everything. So just do what you can do and don't kill yourself. That was me in my 30s. I was, you know, cook, clean, do this, do that, blah, 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 everything. Kids, we can't do everything. And then my 45-year-old self would be the same that I did, that I loved my life at 45. My 45-year-old life would just be yourself, be your true, authentic self, have fun, laugh a lot, and enjoy your life.
Enjoy your life. And have some correct girlfriends around you. You need your tribe. You need that tribe of women. I don't know how we survive without it. So here's the first question. How do you deal with frog fatigue when you've dated so long? I guess you dated so many frogs for so long that you are drained.
You stop dating. You take a holiday from dating. Once you've dated too many frogs and you're fatigued, you take a break and focus on yourself and your friends. That's what you do.
That's what you do. I like that. Okay. So here you go. Somebody's asking, what is the family interaction like? Same person, actually. And I guess first is talking about the dynamics with the blended family.
It's actually quite good. My stepson spend like 60% of the time with their mom, who is also in Atlanta, and 30 to 40% with us, and it's fine. So my oldest daughter, she has her own apartment outside because she's in her final year of college. My 16-year-old is at home. Our family dynamics are perfect. We're good. We only have one living grandparent. Both my parents are gone. His mom is gone. So it's just his dad. And he visits from time to time. He hasn't because of the pandemic. But our family life is very simple and just very easy. Because my stepsons totally adore my 16-year-old. They love their stepsister.
Okay. So here's a question. Sometimes I don't know why Instagram does this. It cuts off the question, so I can't read the whole thing. But it says, what I would like to know is, after marriage, which I found profusely exhausting, I've found being single, I think she says, liberating. And I can't read the rest of the question, but I think what she's trying to say is, after coming out of the marriage, she's finding being single quite liberating, and maybe she's worrying whether she will ever be interested in dating again.
Join the club. That happened to me. Whoever asked that question, I was actually getting into that mode. I was really enjoying my single years because my business, my creativity, everything was just so good. I was just like, I was flourishing. But I knew I still wanted to get married. I kept thinking of my later years, that I don't want to be alone. And then, of course, my daughters put pressure on me because they noticed that I was getting way too comfortable with my single life. So they kept reminding me that, Mom, go and join that site, go and join. I knew I still wanted to get married, but that's a positive, that you're enjoying your single life. It shows that you're really evolving into who you're meant to be. So that's good.
So that's good. So the person who's asked this question has said I shouldn't post her name, so I won't post the question here. But she says, can you talk a bit more about red flags? And actually, that question, I will expand it a little bit. As you are looking for a potential partner, what are some of the qualities that you should be looking for, apart from, the physical one is whatever your choice is? What are some qualities, I guess, character-wise, that you should be looking for? And what are some red flags that should send you running for the hills?
Okay, so a major red flag for me, which is true for me, and I know many women it's true for, is be careful of the man who doesn't have a father figure in his life. That you have to be careful of, because what usually happens in that situation is his mother is probably, I'm not saying always, his mother is probably going to be overbearing in his life. It's not always the case, but you do have to be careful. I prefer that you'll be better to date a man that has a father who is still in touch with. Even if his parents are divorced, he should have a good relationship with his father, because mothers tend to be overly close to their sons, and some of them want to get married to their sons. So beware, you will not be the first wife, you will end up being the second wife. That's one red flag. The other red flag is a man who is not chasing and longing after you while you're dating. It's going to be worse when you get married. Okay, so if you force yourself somehow, because there are some men also that marry for convenience. So if this is a man who you don't hear from for 1 or 2 weeks and 3 weeks, and you're fine with it, and you are chasing him down, and you are the one doing the chasing, and you eventually get married, it's going to get worse. This is a man who will probably want to work outside the home, or say he's moving to another country to work or another state to work, because it's just a matter of convenience. So those are signs. A man who really wants to be with you will be texting you every day, will want to be around you. So yeah, so let me think of other red flags. And red flags, again, are very person specific. For me, again, red flags is, let's talk about the religion thing for a little bit. A lot of us are Christian, and a lot of us want Christian guys. Now, rather than looking for the label Christian, anybody can call themselves Christian. Anybody can say they're going to church 3 times a week. But is he acting like Christ? Is he living by the 9 fruits of the Spirit? That's what you should be looking for. I don't look for whether you're a Christian or some Christian men are the worst cheaters and the worst wife abusers. So look for somebody that has the qualities of Christ and actually shows that. Some other red flags for me in middle age, if you're 40, 50, and you're looking for a 50-something-year-old man, if you meet a 50-something-year-old man who's never, ever been married.
Hallelujah. Dr. Iyabo froze right there, but while she's coming back, I think that is, that's a major red flag.
Yeah.
Like for me. If
Yes.
if you meet a man who is in his 40s or 50s and has never been married, doesn't have any kids, then I think that's a red flag. Somebody said possessiveness. Yeah, somebody who's possessive, that's definitely a red flag right there.
Possessiveness, yeah. Somebody who, yeah, and that one is easy to. Somebody who he sends you a text and then you don't reply him within like an hour, and he's texting you with like 10 question marks, like, where are you? Where did you go? Where did you run? And don't look back.
Don't look back.
Yeah.
Run and don't look back. Somebody who's controlling. Somebody who's controlling.
Controlling, yes.
Yeah. So I think this has been an amazing conversation. I told you guys, I knew it was going to be all shades of delicious, and it really has been. I think people were taking notes. I know I certainly was. Thank you so much, Dr. Iyabo, for spending time with us today. I know your time is very valuable. So thank you for making the time on a Sunday.
You're welcome.
With us. How can people reach you for more information, or if they want to access to your coaching programs? How can people reach you?
So everything's on my website, and it's easy. It's driyabo.com, DRIYABO.com. I'm very active on Instagram, and my Instagram is @Dr. and I'm active on LinkedIn as well. I'm not really active on Facebook, but @Dr. Iyabo for Instagram, and then LinkedIn, Dr. Iyabo Webzo. But everything's on my website.
Okay, and people are sliding into your DMs. Feel free. I can tell you personally.
No problem.
From my personal experience, Dr. Iyabo is very responsive. Actually, I forgot to say this. So I for me, because I'm just she's QCOG, and Queen's QC women are just amazing. She's QCOG. She's also Corona VIOG. Alumni. So I just
Thank
even though Dr. Iyabo and I have never met in person. We've never met in person, but she knows my older sister. But we have so many commonalities, and since I've been talking to her, I've just found her refreshing.
Thank you.
Breath of fresh air, and someone who keeps it absolutely real. So if you slide into those DMs, reach Dr. Iyabo at driyabo.com. This video will be saved on my IG page. So you can come back to it, and you can share it with other people as well who weren't here. It's Dr. Iyabo. Somebody says you looked after her kids in Atlanta.
Yeah, is that your Miss sister? Is that your kind of sister?
Yes.
Femi,
yes.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Yes, stay doing QCOG, stay being all sorts of amazing. So thank you so much to everyone. Thank you for spending time with me this Sunday evening. We'll be back next Sunday with another episode of CHRYSTALLIS Conversations next Sunday at 7 p.m. West African time. If you're not already following me, please follow me, and follow Dr. Iyabo as well. And have a fantastic week, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks, Kemi. Bye-bye.
Thank you.